Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares. Today I'm going to do a series overview of the Dark Force double features. They released 3 Blu-rays not too long ago. I'm not going to get into the overall plots of each one very much. It's going to be mostly, I guess, I'm going to do a rating on the actual transfers themselves and on the overall film and what I thought of it. I'm sure most of the collectors probably already have these 3 films, but I don't hear a lot of people talk about them except for when they first got them, they kind of showed them off. But let's get right into it. I'm going to start with the first one, which is Chaos and Don't Look in the Basement. Now, Chaos was a first time watch for me. I had heard a lot of people talk about it, um, probably within the last year mostly. To be honest with you, I really wasn't that impressed with it. Now, the movie does have Kevin Gage in it and Sage Stallone, Sylvester Stallone's son, who passed away. Actually, I'm trying to think of when he passed away. Maybe 5 years ago? Could be more. But like I said, this is pretty much a direct ripoff of The Last House on the Left. Only I think The Last House on the Left did it a lot better. I mean, it was okay. The transfer was really good. Um, so I'm going to give the transfer an 8. I thought it was really good. As far as the movie goes, I'm going to give it a 6. Will I watch it again? Maybe. I don't know. It just kind of seemed like it was a brutality and I don't know, just for the sake of brutality. I don't know. It just didn't seem like it had much of a point. Um, like I said, I really haven't heard many people talk about it. I've seen them in collection overviews, but I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about Chaos. So for the second part in the double feature is Don't Look in the Basement, a movie which I had actually seen a few times before, and the movie's okay. I mean, it's not great. Um, it's one of those ones that you kind of have to see for yourself. It's kind of where the inmates kind of take over the asylum, one of those types of movies. Um, the transfer is horrible, but I was recently talking to Dave Parker, who has the channel Mr. Parka, because he had featured a DVD in or a Blu-ray in his collection, which came out I think the end of last year, which was the double feature of Don't Go in the Basement, the original, and Don't Go in the Basement 2. And I was asking him what the transfer was like on the on that Blu-ray because this one is pretty bad. And apparently, they don't really have a great transfer of Don't Look in the Basement, which is a shame. It is full screen, and it doesn't look very good. I kind of want to get the double feature just to kind of compare them, I guess. And also to see the sequel, which I heard the sequel is actually pretty good. And I believe it was done by the son of the original director, if I'm not mistaken. I could be, though. But as far as the transfer for this, I'm going to give it a 2. And the overall movie itself is probably a 6.5 for me. I mean, it's not a great film. It is a cult classic, but it's just, I don't know. But anyway, with these, something to keep in mind with these films, you can watch them individually, or you can watch them in a double feature sort of thing with a drive-in countdown, kind of like the old drive-in films. They are pretty bare bones, not really much to say about them. That includes all 3 films, I mean, all 3 installments. So let's get right on to the next one. This is by far my favorite of the 3. Of course, it has the legendary house on the edge of the park and the last house on Massacre Street. Now, House on the Edge of the Park, I don't really know what to say about that. That hasn't already been said. I do like it. It is a film that had to grow on me with multiple watches, but I do like it a lot now. And the transfer is really, really good. I'm going to give it a 9. As far as the overall film itself, I'll give it an 8. It, it is kind of dated now, but I do love it. I just, it's got an awesome twist in the end. It's just an overall a good film. Now we're going to move on to the last house on Massacre Street, which was by far my favorite of any of the films that they put on here, except for House on the Edge of the Park. This movie really surprised me, and I really, really enjoyed it. Again, the transfer is not that great. There is a lot of color fading and speckling in it. There's also I don't know exactly what they call it, but the different colors that run, like it's a film, has been washed out or burnt. Um, but this was a really good film. This has if you're familiar with martial arts movies, this has the guy who played the bad ninja in Revenge of the Ninja. The guy Braden was the main character of this film. And although he's not a great actor, he just has this natural charisma on the screen. But again, you can watch this in the drive-in mode, or you can watch them separately. Last House on Massacre Street, I'm going to give it an 8.5. I really enjoyed it as far as the overall film. Transfer is going to go probably at a 5. I kind of get what they were going for these, but some of the films are really good, have a really good transfer, and some of them kind of have really, I don't know, it just looks like they've been, I don't know, dragged through the parking lot or something. I don't know. But that's installment number 2, by far my favorite. And before I get away from this, they did release another version of this because there were spelling errors on it. This is actually the first version with the typos, I guess. So, but which brings us to our last installment. This was a pretty decent installment. I'm going to go with the second feature first, the Eerie Midnight Horror Show, which is actually the first one I watched. Now, Code Red does have an individual, or they did have an individual Blu-ray of this, but they released it on here. I'm not really quite sure why. This is kind of an Exorcist ripoff, but a sexual Exorcist ripoff. It was okay. It wasn't a great film. I was kind of looking forward to watching this the most. I was a little disappointed, I guess. Again, the transfer wasn't that great. I'd probably give the transfer maybe a 7.5 on this. As far as the film goes, I would give it, I guess, a 6. The House That Vanished is probably was I guess my third favorite film out of the entire thing. I did enjoy this. I thought it was very interesting. I was looking on IMDb and they kind of considered it a British giallo. And I guess I can see that. It is an interesting film. Now, from what I am to understand, this is the cut version. This was supposed to be pulled from the site and the shelves. I'm not sure exactly what's happening with that now, if they're going to re-release it or what they're going to do. But this is a pretty neat film. I was pretty impressed. Again, the transfer is not that great. I have to give it a 7 for the transfer. Or no, actually, I'm going to give it a 6 for the transfer. There was a lot of imperfections in it. As far as the movie goes, I'm going to give it a solid 8. I did enjoy it for what it was. And again, these can be played individually or in the drive-in mode. I don't know. Overall, I guess I really wasn't that impressed with this series. Overall, I thought it would have been a lot better. I get what they were trying to go for, but I don't know. I think we're kind of spoiled nowadays with how good things look from certain companies. So I guess maybe I was a little disappointed, but there are definitely some good films on here. I can definitely recommend um, Last House on Massacre Street, of course, House on the Edge of the Park if you've never seen it, which I'm sure most people have. The House That Vanished I enjoyed. Um, Eerie Midnight Horror Show. I mean, I'll probably watch it again someday. Um, and of course, Don't Look in the Basement is a great film. Well, not a great film, but it's a cult film. Um, it has its place, I guess. But the transfer is really bad on that one. But, overall, it was a decent series. I'm glad I have them in my collection. And if you like what you see and hear, um, hit that like button and subscribe. But until next time, peace.